Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from Popcross Studios, the Creative Joy of Kitbashing, or Artbashing. I'm not really sure what he's talking about. Let's just hop on in.
Today's art form is something that I used to do as a kid with nothing more than Microsoft Paint, a computer mouse, and internet access to gather resources. Kitbashing is a term that I only heard and learned within the last few years, but once I learned what it was, I realized that at various points in my life, I'd actually done it myself. Though I wasn't doing it by the traditional definition of the term. Kitbashing originates from the miniature and model making community, in which people take parts from various different model kits and make them into a new figure or creation that's made of pieces from multiple different sets. It's also used in the visual
So that's what it is.
effects community. I actually first heard the term in a Corridor Crew video a few years back, in which I think Ren was using a bunch of 3D models he'd bought, taking pieces from them, and digitally kitbashing a spaceship. I don't remember for sure the context, but hopefully me in editing has found and can cut to the clip. No. Perfect.
No.
Anyway, this is something illustrators, or really anyone, can do too with photographs or with other people's drawings. Some illustrators will take photographs and use those to help build out their environments for artwork or even entire art pieces. Though in that context, it's usually called photo bashing. I like kit bashing better as a term, so I'll probably stick with that, but maybe it's more accurate to call what I'm doing here art bashing. Now, the footage you're seeing here is from a mini-series of videos that I made and uploaded to YouTube when I was in high school almost 20 years ago.
Yet, weirdly, this feels familiar, like I've watched this before. There's a high likelihood I did, but there's also a higher likelihood that someone else was just doing it as well.
Another channel called Jude Wolf 16, who, for unnecessary context, Jude Wolf was the main character of my first novel I ever tried to write, which was basically halfway between Twilight and Underworld. Cue the demands for...
Oh my god, I was watching him when I was a kid. Holy shit. Because those Sprite videos, I remember them.
Video about that. Anyway, the great thing about kit bashing in this way is that you can do it with pretty minimal resources. Like I said, I was doing it with Microsoft Paint and a mouse. And sure, I have a much fancier setup now and way more illustration skills than I used to have back in high school, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily need those things to do this yourself. Today I'm going to be doing this not with sprites, but with the official illustrated Pokemon artwork. But really, you don't have to do it with Pokemon, you can do it with anything. Though it's generally easier if you have a big roster of characters that are all done in a similar art style. Now, I've been personally studying the Pokemon art style recently, as evidenced by my last video turning SCPs into Pokemon. So
check that video out if you haven't. It should be up on Monday.
I figured this could be a fun way to get more familiar.
And by that I mean the previous Monday, because this is Friday by the time you're watching this.
With specific details of the art style. Well, also just giving people some inspiration for a fun creative pastime you might want to try out. I also decided to make these lovely rice paper burger rolls for the intro of this video because they're pretty high protein, relatively low calorie, and most importantly, absolutely delicious. I didn't quite measure everything, but the general recipe's in the description because, for whatever reason, I decided that in my new Art and Antics series, which you're watching right now, cooking is just randomly a recurring part of it now. What the heck, I like sharing recipes, and I am trying lots of new weird stuff in the Popcross Studios Audacity era.
I have checked out a few of those.
Let's get into our first kit bash, shall we?
Hit like if you want. Subscribe if you feel like it. By the way, enjoy the show.
I don't really know why, but I want to start with a kit-bashed water Pokemon for today. Something involving Feraligatr and Swampert, probably my two favorite water Pokemon. Maybe a bit of Gyarados in there, but I've pulled up the Pokemon database, the water type page specifically, and I'm just going to scroll through, look at some different Pokemon, and see what kind of inspiration comes to me. I think I'm going to save a whole bunch of different Pokemon that I just know I like the design of, bring them into Sketchbook Pro where I do all of my art, and I'm just going to start playing around, seeing what pieces I like from different Pokemon, and seeing what I might want to make with those pieces.
Translation, get the blender!
Now there was a slight learning curve on this, but it was a pretty quick and fairly easy one, and mostly it just felt really fun and playful. It felt like being a kid
Ooh.
again, mashing together Pokemon sprites just for fun. But, of course, now I'm not using sprites. I do think it's easier using Pokemon sprites, but now that I have a broader roster of illustration skills under my belt, it was, you know, fairly easy enough to merge pieces together and use some brushes in Sketchbook Pro to fill in gaps and pieces. One thing that I did find super useful early on was using color blending layers to tweak the colors on one Pokemon from one to another so that the colors are matching and you don't have to just recolor full parts of the Pokemon yourself, which could end up losing some of the nice built-in texture of the actual Pokemon style. But I do think I should have saved the color tweaking until the very end after the full Pokemon structure was built. I'm gonna do that for the next ones going forward, and I'd recommend doing that yourself too. Now, in making this, I honestly think it is going to help me so much with designing Pokemon in the Pokemon art style in the future. If I'd done this before my SCPs as Pokemon episode video from earlier this week, I definitely think it would have helped.
Okay, I took the liberty of trying to see if I could find any of the old channels that I used to watch that actually did do Pokemon Sprite fusions. Thing is, though, I actually did see some in the pretty much the same MS Paint style that he had used in the past. So now I am not sure if I actually did watch any of his in the past long ago. Also, now it's actually kind of difficult to find any channels that are all doing it just for fun, thanks to Pokemon Infinite Fusion. Like, no hate, love the game, even I have it, just makes it a little difficult. Anyway, back to it.
I think it's going to be cool to see the progression now that I've done this. I've found that I should use more matte colors than what I was using before. And I also had the benefit of doing some work between videos on this. Between doing that last video and this one, I spent a little bit of time going through some different brushes in Sketchbook Pro, testing them next to actual Pokemon art and even on Pokemon art to find stuff that really looked like it matched the Pokemon art style. I did buy Subjectively's Pokemon brush pack for Procreate, and it did work really well, but I make all my videos in Sketchbook Pro. I like working on my desktop better than on my iPad, and that brush pack isn't compatible with Sketchbook Pro, but it wasn't that big of a deal. It didn't take too long finding some brushes that worked well in Sketchbook Pro that were just a part of it. When you download it, it has tons of different brushes. I had to tweak some of the settings on some of them, but I did find stuff that I think worked really well and helped me bring together these pieces. Also, you may notice that I didn't end up actually using Feraligatr for this. I had planned to. I tried messing around with him, but eventually I was just like, he doesn't really fit. And I was just kind of discovering this as I went, and I'm really happy with the water dragon type Pokemon that I ended up making here, Blastoise.
Nice. Let's see, made from, of course, Blastoise, a little bit of Gyarados, and we got a bit of Samurott, some Empoleon, and of course, Caracaster for the head.
Alright, well that turned out really awesome and was a ton of fun, but since we've given ourselves a really cool looking water dragon, I think we gotta go for a fire dragon next. Let's try tackling that. Now, while I was gathering fire and dragon types, I realized I'm pretty behind on what new Pokemon there are, because I don't think I'd ever seen Galarian Moltres before. I love this design, and I had certainly never seen this guy.
Roaring Moon.
Who did this? Who's responsible for this?
You see, that is Roaring Moon, the past paradox of Salamence, introduced in Pokemon Scarlet, which also introduced the Paldea region, along with Area Zero, what it calls home.
This is awesome! When did this happen? Anyway, as soon as I saw Roaring Moon, I knew that I would want to use that guy's wings as not quite the base, but as a significant element of this design, because that big Moon Knight-like sweeping wing cape sword thing would be a really nice framing
I don't know what you call it, idol.
Head sort of area of our dragon. And admittedly, it ends up looking a little bit more like a legendary bird because I go with those feathery sort of wings, and then also Galarian Moltres' head as one of the core elements. And I did really like the idea of using Galarian Moltres' head and working in more of its fire, which near the end I put more of its fire coming out of the back of the wings, and I think that looks really cool. I also knew that I wanted to use Embor's arms. Like, I wanted this dragon to have some big wings and then some bulky arms. I end up shrinking.
Most of the time, a dragon is a special attacker, so giving it big, meaty arms would give it the impression of it being a physical attacker.
The arms
just
down
like
a little bit
Imbor.
more, so they fit better. But I still think those nice big arms are a cool element of this. And I really like I said in the first one, this whole process is just very playful. I thought about trying. One thing that I learned in the Pokemon SCPs as Pokemon episode is that I need to spend a little bit more time strategizing and planning out a creative idea before going into it. But it was kind of the opposite. The idea
good use though with the
was to go in and just be playful, discover what I wanted it to be as I was going along. I'm sure you could do.
My brain glitched on me and I forgot, and I could not remember the name Koraidon.
A Artbash
it's
or
a
Kitbash
fighting dragon
Pokemon
type.
that you have a strategy going in and make something really deliberate. But for me, the fun of this was just inventing it on the fly and finding what came to me, testing out little elements from Pokemon that I really like, finding ways to work them in. Like, I really wanted to have Mega Garchomp's scythe arm kind of thing somewhere, but by the time I got to him, I thought, where am I actually going to put those? And then I realized there was a cool place to work them in as sort of like two tails coming off the back of this Pokemon. And this thing was looking like a little bit of a mess because I was doing very little recoloring as I was working through it. But then once I actually got into the recoloring stage,
that's when it
figuring out what colors I wanted to have going through the full design and recurring, it ends up coming together in a really cohesive way. And it's still a little bit of a chaotic Pokemon.
That's how you do it.
That is kind of the intention with something like this, and it's chaotic in a way that I think absolutely works, and I think it just looks so cool. And I hope you all agree and you like the Flaming Chimera Pokemon, Multiments.
Ooh, Multiments. Nice. Personally, out of all this, I actually kind of like how you gave Galarian Moltres' head that blue coloration. Something about that just feels a lot better than the red. I like it.
I genuinely don't know how to express just how much fun I'm having doing this. Like, I knew this was going to be fun, but...
Let's turn to the council! Oh, what did I say? They approve!
Something about it is just making it next level fun, and I'm really excited to do another, but I don't actually have an idea yet for what I want to do for my next one.
Well, you did a water dragon, you just did a fire dragon, so screw it! Let's do a grass dragon!
Huh?
Zar? Bulbasaur?
Oh yeah, Bulba Dragon. Let's do it. Now, I went and grabbed a bunch of different grass Pokemon
I was right.
that I wanted to work into this because it's a Bulbasaur dragon, but also generally a grass dragon. But I also just pulled some other Pokemon that I really like the designs of and I wanted to use pieces of. And when I saw Raging Bolt, the Paradox Pokemon that's very similar to Raikou, I knew immediately that I wanted to use its body as the core. Like, this would be some kind of giraffe dragon or something like that.
Sure.
And also, the nice thing about picking a Pokemon as the base that has a big, long body like this with a long neck is it gives a lot more room to add kibble, to add little extra bits all over the place on top.
I was actually just about to say, he gives you a right area to walk with, yeah.
Of it. And I do eventually end up adding some stuff that feels a little bit too much that I take away. For instance, I end up playing around.
You guys know I don't pre-watch, so I didn't know he was actually going to ask the council. I asked the council, and they said grass. Then he asked the council, and they said grass.
with working in
Oh, I love
Meganium's
this.
flower around the neck, and it just ends up feeling a bit off, and I end up taking it away. But I honestly think this one ends up being the coolest one from the episode, or my personal favorite. And
I
I'm not
like
just
it.
being biased because
It's
the
a little
council
weird,
will be
but I
judging
like
this
it.
one. But I also want to really emphasize how much I think this is going to help so much with adapting the Pokemon art style, because I started getting bolder as I was going through this, and even the second one I did for this episode, with just redrawing some elements using the brushes that I'd found that work well for the Pokemon art style. And this forces you to analyze little bits of the Pokemon design or whatever art you're art bashing, kit bashing with to see, oh, okay, that's
Mix
how
and
this
match.
gets rendered, or oh, that's an interesting design element that I never noticed before. You can
Oh,
find
that
all
actually
these
looks
sorts
good.
of things by studying an art style, but by actually taking it
You know, I actually kind of like what you did there with the flowers. That actually does look pretty good. I say keep it.
and using it and manipulating
Nope,
it
you got rid of it.
yourself, you're forced to see things that you might not have looked into otherwise. Of course, the ultimate test will be my next episode where I design something as Pokemon and see if I really do execute the art style significantly better, but I'm quite hopeful. I think it is going to turn out really well, specifically because of what I'm doing here.
I
So
think,
this
yeah,
just
it will
has
be
the ultimate
damn
benefit
well.
of being an absolute blast to do and helping me learn something that I wanted to learn. Plus, I end up with some really cool looking stuff like this Sora Bulbush that we've got here,
Ooh.
the Council Guardian Pokemon.
Love it. Love it.
Well, I am certainly thrilled with how that turned out, but what
It's
really
damn
matters
good.
is what the Council of the Bulbasaur thinks. So, guys, what? Oh, hey, look at that. Almost
Hey.
got 10s across the board.
Hey, hold on. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why are you giving a 7? Huh? What's going on? You don't like it? Speak up. State your mind.
That's pretty good. Always got to be hard to impress, eh, Francois?
Hey, Boba.
Of course, he's French!
Well, that's all I've got for today, but I would be super
Lasso.
interested in doing more kit bashing, art bashing, photo bashing, whatever you all want to call this. Doesn't really matter
Let's
to
call
me.
it the
And I'd be
blend-off.
interested in seeing what you all make. If you want to do something like this, go ahead and share it in the Popcross community right here on YouTube. I'm sure me and lots of other people in the community would love to see what you make. Maybe you'll inspire some other people. But
You
besides,
know, weirdly enough, I actually kind of did my own kit bash years ago, even if it was only just 2 simple beings. I was a huge fan of Ben 10 a couple years ago, back when it was still going on, way before the reboot. And, do y'all remember how there was a Ben 10,000 that had the Biomnitrix? I kind of created my own fusion. It was a pretty simple one. It was Swampfire and Forearms. The name I gave it was Firearms, with, yes, I know, guns, all that. But all in all, it was actually pretty good. I was using the base of Forearms, but I added in a lot of Swampfire elements. And it was Swampfire after he bloomed in Omniverse.
that's all for today,
But
except
still-
of course we're ending this video on some kind of positive or
inspiring
inspiring
note.
And the thought I want to leave people with today is just a reminder to every now and then do a little life audit. Just ask
Oh?
yourself, am I moving in a direction that I truly want to move in? Are the actions that I'm
Ooh.
taking regularly taking me closer to the life I ultimately want to live
I
and being
see.
the person I want to be? Because it's very easy to slowly fall off track without even noticing. Shifting into this new Audacity era followed me doing a little life audit like that and realizing I need to
Okay.
work a little bit more spontaneity, goofiness, and fun into my routine. And remember, any day can be the day that you decide to change your life forever.
He
So
does
if
have a
you've been
point.
moving in the wrong direction for a while, maybe today is that day for you. I hope
He has
that's
a big
inspiring. I
point.
love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video on Monday. Goodbye.
Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.